Morning students, today we will learn about the theories related with the combination of errors. So students, as in previous class we have discussed that any measurement or any calculation will have certain amount of errors related with it. So suppose that if the different measurements or calculations are added or subtracted together, or for other cases multiplied or divided together. So how these errors are going to affect our result, that we will learn under the heading of the combination of errors. So in this part, the combination of errors, we will learn certain theories that how we can combine the different types of error if they are in any measurement or calculated value. So let's proceed. So the first thing that we will learn is addition. So what happens when the two measurement or the measured values are added together and how the result is going to be influenced. So I will take one common example for all the cases so that it will be easy to understand. So let's say I have the two measured values A and B with certain errors, and the values are A is equal to 4 plus minus 0.2 and B as 2 plus minus 0.1. Now if you remember the last class, or if you have any confusion, you can again see that these plus minus part represents the errors associated with the calculation. Okay. So if we want to add, suppose that these are the two observations, we are doing some practical in the lab, and after having two types, when we perform the experiment two times, we are having these values. Now we want to see that if we added them, then what is the final result. So in this case what we will do, we will simply add a plus b as we used to do in the algebra, but the rule is that we will go with the main value, that is the true value, as 4 and 2. So this is 4 plus 2, and then we will add individually the error part. So in the A, error is 0.2 and in the B, error is 0.1. So now 0.2 plus 0.1. So collectively the value is coming as 4 plus 2 6 and 0.2 plus 0.1 0.3. So this is the value, final value, if we added up these two examples. Now suppose that we are interested in calculating the subtracted value. Suppose that we want to subtract, and what is the result. So during subtraction what will happen, mind it, in subtraction what happens, we will follow the same rule for the main part, you can say. As for example, we are having value again A as 4 plus minus 0.2, B as 2 plus minus 0.1. So for the difference of the measurement or the final value, if they are taken as the difference, A minus B will be represented as 4 minus 2, 4 minus 2 plus minus 0.2 plus 0.1. Now here you might be confused that on the main side we are subtracting, but on the error part we are adding. So there is a one simple explanation for this. Suppose that you are calculating certain values. Anyhow you are getting two times different values and both are related with certain error. So whether you operate an algebraic operation in the form of addition or subtraction, your final result is bound to have more and more error, because again try to understand, two inputs are already having error, and with the values that are already having error, now you are operating it. So the chances of more and more errors are there. That's why it is always said in physics, errors are always added, they can never be subtracted. To be more specific, we can say, suppose that you calculated something and that is wrong. Again I calculated the same thing and my value is also wrong. So whether we want to combine our values in the form of addition or subtraction, the value will be much far away from the true value. So always remember that even in subtraction part, the error has to be added, but the main part, that is the true value part or absolute part, you can say, that will be subtracted. So, 4 minus 2 we are getting 2, and by adding the error part we are getting plus minus 0.3. So, see, this is the one example to get it clear that how we can add and how we can subtract with the error. Now, based on this we will solve one example so that everything is clear. So, I am having a scenario, suppose that I am having volume of the two objects as V1 and V2 with certain errors. The value of V1 is 4 plus minus 0.1 and value of V2 is 16 plus minus 0.3. And now I need to calculate the volume. Now I need to calculate the volume as the sum with the error limits. So, V1 is given as 4 plus minus 0.1 meter cube, V2 is 16 plus minus 0.3 meter cube. So, as I said, when we add, we will simply add the absolute part and individually add the error part. So, 16 plus 4 and on the other side 0.1 plus 0.3. So, it is coming as 20 plus minus 0.4 meter cube. So, this is the sum of the values with the error limits. But what if we want to have the difference in the volume? So, V2 minus V1, again what is the V2? Absolute part 16, and what is the absolute part of V1? 4. So, 16 minus 4, but as I said earlier that error part will be always added up. So, again 0.1 plus 0.3. So, in this case we are having 12 plus minus 0.4 meter cube. So, I hope this is very much clear that how we can add or subtract. Now, we will move towards the multiplication of measurement. Okay. So, if suppose that we are having different values, I will take for the simplicity only two values, but it can be multiplied to any given number of values. So, suppose that I am having value as again A is equal to 4 plus minus 0.2 and B as 2 plus minus 0.1. So, I think I do not need to recall anything, but just for the understanding, once again I am highlighting this 0.2 and 0.1 are errors associated with the measurement of A and B. So, but obviously if we will multiply both of them, there will be certain final value. So, let us say that we are representing the product of the error measurement as AB is equal to Z. Okay. So, AB is equal to Z. Now, for the absolute part of A is the 4 and the absolute value of the B is 2. So, A into B, that is Z is equal to 4 to the 8. So, we are having Z is equal to 8. Now, we need to have the error. So, for the error what we can do, we know in the last class I explained relative error, that is the error part divided by the integral part. So, let us say we do not know what is the error in the Z. So, delta Z is the error part, but we know the absolute value. So, delta Z by Z should be equal to delta A by A plus delta B by B. So, this is the rule for the product. Again I am telling you, any product can be represented as a certain constant, that constant we already know. So, the relative error will be on both sides. Now, try to understand, we are multiplying two values which are having error. So, whatever result we will get, it will also have certain error associated with it. So, on the same line we can say, we do not know what is the error, then relative error, that is the delta Z, the amount of the unknown error divided by the Z should be equal to error in the A divided by value of A plus error in the B divided by value of B. So, mind it, delta A is already given 0.2, delta B is already given 0.1, the absolute value of A is 4 and the absolute value of B is 2. So, if we put all the values together, what we are getting? We are getting as delta A by A for 0.2 divided by 4, that is the error part divided by absolute part, plus 0.1 by 2. So, it is nothing but delta Z by Z, as you can remember. So, 0.2 2 by 4 plus 0.1 by 2 is nothing, 2 2s are 4. So, these are the same. So, we will be getting 0.2 by 2. So, the value of delta z by z is coming as 0.1. So, 0.1 is nothing but delta z by z. Okay. Now, this delta z by z is equal to 0.1 and we have already also calculated the value of z. So, what is delta z? Delta z, that is the error part, is 0.1 times value of z. So, 0.1 into 8 will be nothing but 0.8. I hope it is clear. So, if it is 0.8, so now we can have z, z. So, the net value, product value is z, and z is nothing but, as we know that any calculation can be represented as, try to understand, the absolute part plus minus error part. Okay, absolute part plus minus error part. If it is not visible, I am writing here any calculation. So, this is the calculation, no, z, the product. So, z can be represented as absolute part plus minus error part, that is delta z. So, already we have delta z 0.8. So, 0.8, and what is the z? Already we have 4 2s are 8. So, the final calculation, that is the product with the error limit, will be z is equal to 8 plus minus 0.8, which is equal to AB. So, this we were interested in calculation. So, what we learn again here, that if you are multiplying the two values that are already having errors associated with them, so the net result that you will obtain, that will also contain a certain amount of error, which will be the result of the previous two values. So, the final representation or the final calculated value z, but obviously will contain certain part of the errors, and as you can see the rule is getting followed. Error parts are always added. Try to convince yourself this point, that if you are having different values, all of them are having certain amount of the errors associated with them. So, anyhow they will enhance the error, they will increase the error in the calculation. So, errors are never subtracted, anyhow they will be added up. That is the main point of understanding. Now, the last algebraic operation is left over, quotient of error, that is normally which we know as division. So, for the simplicity we will take again the same value of a and b. Let us say a is equal to 4 plus minus 0.2 and b is equal to 2 plus minus 0.1. Okay. So, if you want to represent the quotient, that is the division, so let us say the quotient is y. So, y is nothing but a by b, because we are interested in the quotient of the errors. So, y is equal to a by b, and what is the absolute part of the a? 4. What is the absolute part of the b? 2. So, 4 by 2, that is 2. So, we are already having the net value of y as 2. Now, coming to the fractional errors, okay, that is about the relative error. So, as we can see, delta y by y, okay, what we are trying to calculate, delta y by y. So, we will be taking as, now again I will not do the same thing because already it is done in the previous set. What I said, remember that you need to add the error part. Errors will be always added, whether it is subtracted, added, multiplied or divided. So, simply we know that for the delta y by y will be again nothing, delta y by y is equal to sum of the relative error of a and b. Mind it, sum of the relative error of a and b. So, 0.2 divided by 4 plus 0.1 divided by 2, and we have already seen this value as 0.1. So, delta y by y, that is the relative error in the quotient, is 0.1, and that is why again mentioned here fractional errors are added. So, if you are getting confused, once again try to understand, we are going to divide, but earlier what I said, whether you add, subtract, multiply or divide, errors will be always added, relative errors, okay, or the fractional errors. So what is the relative error? We know to represent relative error as error part divided by absolute part. So for A the relative error is 0.2 by 4, for B the relative error is 0.1 by 2. So fractional errors are added, that means 0.2 by 4 plus 0.1 by 2. So earlier it is already solved, it is 0.1. So now I hope I am clear. So relative error in y is 0.1. Now from this equation what we can see? Delta y is equal to y times 0.1. So what is the delta y? 0.1 into y, okay, and already what is the value of y? 2. So 0.1 into 2, so it is coming as 0.2. So now we are having the value of already y and the value of delta y. So we can now represent, so this is the delta y part, that is the error part, and this is the absolute part. So see, the final value is coming as y is equal to 2 plus minus 0.2. So these are the 4 examples that should be clear in your mind, that how can we combine the error. Combination of error is very necessary to understand, because for the rest of the physics part, either in 11th or 12th, one way or another way these theories are going to influence our result. So please go through all the examples at least 2 or 3 times, so that you have a very clear understanding what are the steps and procedure. Now one different part is left over, that how we can determine the combination of error parts when something is given in exponential form, or you can say rather in the complex form. So for that, now I am having one example. Suppose that if measured value contains error in a quantity something raised to power n, that means something like 5 square, 3 square or a square, something like that. So for the relative error, what we normally used to do, we take n times the relative error, n times I am talking about. So to make it more sense, let us say, first I will take a variable example, then I will apply it to any example. Let us say, delta x, a measured value is what? X, and the measurement is expressed in terms of a raised to l b raised to m divided by c raised to n. It is not necessary that it is always having the denominator and numerator part, we can apply it for any part. So what I said earlier, again remember that relative errors or the fractional errors are always added. So if these are the values which are contributing to the final measurement, so but obvious the relative error in this final calculation will be equal to the sum of the errors. Now as I said, for individual part, suppose that a raised to l. So when we are calculating the combination of error, what we will write? L multiplied by relative error of that power, that means the power which is on the base quantity. So L is on A. So L times relative error, and what is relative error? Error divided by absolute value. Similarly, M times the relative value in B. Now again I told you that whether it is numerator, denominator, summation, division, whatever, errors are always added. So c raised to n, but it will again simply added up, plus n into delta c by c, that is the relative error of c part. So this is the way we used to do. Now let us apply these concepts on 2 examples. So the first example is the length and breadth of a rectangular lamina are 2.3 plus minus 0.2 centimeter and 1.6 plus minus 0.1 centimeter. So one is the length, one is the breadth with the error. Now we need to calculate the area of lamina with error limits. We need to calculate the area of the lamina with error limits. So let us say we already given L is equal to 2.3 plus minus 0.2 centimeter and B is equal to 1.6 plus minus 0.1 centimeter. So but obvious area A will be L times B, that is length into breadth. So we will simply, as we have already seen, multiply the absolute part. So what are the absolute part? 2.3 and 1.6. This is coming as 3.6. and for the error part we will simply add up. So, the error in the A part, that is delta A by A, relative error, is equal to relative error in the length plus relative error in the breadth. So, delta L by L plus delta B by B. Since uncertainty always have plus minus sign, but inside they will be added up. So, uncertainty in length is 0.2. So, 0.2 by 2.3, that is delta L by L. Uncertainty in breadth is 0.1. So, 0.1 by 1.6. So, this is finally coming as 0.55 divided by 3.68. So, what is delta A? Delta A is equal to, from this equation, A times the sum of the relative errors. So, on calculation we are getting 3.68, which we have already calculated absolute part, and the error part as 0.55 centimeter square. So, this is for the revision of the product. Now, the last that we discussed, the quotient part, kindly pay attention. So, in this question it is given, what it is given, that calculate percentage error in value of G, and what is the value of G? 4 pi square L by T square, where L has a percentage error of 2 and time has a percentage error of 3. Now, see how we can apply our studied example. So, what I said, G is equal to 4 pi square L T square. Since 4 pi square is already constant, we will not consider it. Now, the relative error on the left hand side will be the sum of the relative error on the right hand side, and the variables on the right hand side are only L and T. So, this is the relative percentage error on the left hand side, delta G by G into 100 is equal to, as I said, relative error is always represented as the sum of the error in different parts. So, what here we are getting? We are getting here plus minus, it could be even outside, okay. Delta L by L, what I am telling you, delta L by L, look at here, delta L by L multiplied by 100 plus, as I said, remember, whatever be the power on the base quantity, it will be simply in the error power multiplied by the base quantity in the terms of relative error. So, T to the power 2. So, we are simply multiplying 2 into delta T by T. So, this was the theory, 2 into delta T by T into 100. Suppose that here we would be having L to the power 3, what we will do? 3 into delta L by L. So, whether in numerator or denominator, if power is there, we will simply use power as coefficient. Remember, we will simply use power as coefficient. I hope now I am understood. So, on solving it, we are getting plus minus 2 into 3. Okay. So, delta G by G into 100, what we are getting as delta L by L into 100. So, already delta L by L is given 2%. Okay. So, plus minus 2 times delta T by T into 100, and it is nothing but 3%. So, 2 plus minus 2 into 3. So, what is 3? 3 to just 6, and here we do not need the negative sign, simply we do not need. Why? Because errors are always added. So, 3 to just 6, 6 plus 2, 8. So, the calculation contained plus minus 8% of the error. So, this was the explanation for the exponential, or you can say rather complex problem. These are the only variations in the combination of error. So, I hope everything is clear now. Okay. Now, after this we will learn the rules of the significant figure. So, this is the very easy part of the chapter. You do not need to do a lot of labor behind this. You just simply understand the basic concept regarding the significant rules. First of all, let us learn what exactly significant figure means, or what is the role that it plays in any measurement. So, just imagine I am giving you one example, that in a lab you people are provided with a wooden cylinder, a small part of cylinder, and everybody is measuring it. Suppose that we are measuring the diameter. So, someone is getting as 1.3, someone is getting as 1.32, someone is getting as 1.325, someone is getting as 1.3257. Now, see, the more the integer parts are coming or the decimal parts are coming, it is obviously showing that the calculation is more and more precise, more and more close, or more and more resolved. Okay. So, simply significant figures indicates the precision of any measurement. Now, I hope you are clear. So by mere looking these values, we can say that the person or the student who have calculated the value as 1.3257 have really performed a lot of effort behind the measurement, because then only he is able to obtain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digit figure. Otherwise 1.3 and 1.3257. So this 1.3 can be simply calculated with the help of a normal meter scale, because as I have told earlier that even a simple meter scale can have the millimeter value, but 1.325, that means it is on the fourth power of the decimal, that means the fourth part of any. It means that this measurement is done at a very finer level. So larger the number of significant figures, greater is the precision of measurement. That is the thumb rule. More number of significant figures are there in any measurement, more and more precise the value of the measurement. Now coming to the rules. So in books they are divided into a lot of parts, but there are very simple 3 or 4 rules. So we will combine all of them and we will see as like this. All non-zero digits are significant, remember. So whether with decimal or without decimal. So let's have example 1.52, 152, 37. So in both the case, all the digits are significant. So this is containing 1, 2, 3, 3 significant digits, and this is containing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant digits. Now coming to the next type of the digits, that is related with the zeros. What it is saying? All zeros between two non-zero digits with or without decimal are significant. Pay attention on the words. All zeros between two non-zero digits with or without decimal are significant. So what does it mean? If I am having, suppose that 1.205, so all the zeros between two non-zero, so this 0 is between two non-zero or with or without decimal. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So total number of significant digit 4. Understand? Similarly, if I am writing 120057008, so as the zeros are between non-zero numbers and there is no decimal, then also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is containing 9 significant digits. So up till now we have seen 3 type of example: the numbers without 0, with or without decimal, and the number with zeros, with or without decimal. The only last thing which is left over in the summarized way is trailing zeros. So it has 2 types of thing. If the trailing zeros are in any number without decimal, then such zeros are not significant, like 100. So when you write 100, it has only one significant digit. These zeros are not counted. But what it is saying, but the number with decimal, if contains trailing zeros, are significant. So let's say we are writing, again I am telling you, the trailing zeros. So if the zeros are trailing after the, you can say, decimal, then they will be counted. Okay. So normally what happens, suppose that we are having an example of 3.500. So from the significant rule, it has 4 digits. Why it has 4 digits? Because we have already said that numbers with decimal, if they are having trailing zeros, they are significant. So these are the only variations which you will get. The one last thing is, suppose that the numbers in which there are zeros before decimal, like 0.0125, okay. So that zeros left to the decimal are not significant, they will be not counted, but other zeros will be counted, okay. Other zeros will be counted. So we can have like this type of example. So I hope now the significant figures and these things are clear. So please go through the textbook, each and every line, these 3 and 4 pages regarding the combination of errors, and significant figures are very crucial. They are in reality very easy to understand, but yes, demands a lot of patience and a very good attention. So try to go through each and every word, and if you have any problem, please let me know. Either you can post your questions or by any means you can come to me, but don't have any confusion regarding the rules, because once the rules are understood, then be it whatever number of calculation, long or short, you will feel very easy to solve them. And last thing which I would like to say, the concept of the significant figure and the different types of the errors is a must for understanding the entire physics syllabus that is about to be come. Okay. So, do not take these things very lightly, these are the fundamental block of the physics. I hope you can understand me. So, that is it for today. Thank you.